Honorable Speaker, you may need to direct the clerk's office to repair some of these seats. They will tear our clothes. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this division of revenue bill. Honorable Speaker, I think as many members have said, there is nothing much on this bill since it's just the vertical division of our revenue, nationally raised revenues. But Honorable Speaker, even as we note, as the Budget and Appropriations Committee has noted, there's a 4% increment on the 2022-2023 figure of 370 billion to now 385. Honorable Speaker, as we did commit when we were campaigning that we will ensure that continuously we release all functions that should have gone to the county governments, and I'm glad, Honorable Speaker, that in this very first budget, a figure of about 425 million is going towards the transfer of library functions to the counties. And Honorable Speaker, libraries and the establishment of libraries is a very important function, especially towards the growth of literacy levels in our country. And I want to encourage all our county governments not to allow this function to die in their hands. Honorable Speaker, part of the reason why we're in the problems that we are in with our food security is because the moment we devolved agricultural services, and especially extension services in the sector of agriculture, these extension officers who are devolved to the counties have been left without vehicles. They are not facilitated to be able to offer the extension services to farmers. And therefore, farmers are producing without the requisite extension services that they used to get from the national government of the older days. And I want to encourage all our county governments to ensure that they allocate more resources. And I know, Honorable Speaker, there is usually the temptation to allocate resources towards areas where governors and people who are running their offices at the county level are able to get kickbacks. But we want to encourage them to invest money in more productive sectors. Finally, Honorable Speaker, we also must appeal to our governors to ensure that there is proper accountability of all the funds that are devolved to our counties. Over the years, in the first 10 years, Honorable Speaker, since the advent of devolution, we have had trillions of Kenya shillings being devolved to our county governments. But if you compare what has gone to our county governments and what has gone to NGCDF over the years, Honorable Speaker, there is no comparison in terms of getting value for money in projects that are implemented under the NGCDF framework, as opposed that are those that are being rolled out under the county government's framework. Honorable Speaker, the question of pending bills in our county governments, Honorable Speaker, as it is in the national government, even in the county governments, pending bills are the first charge to the exchequer. And our governors must ensure that they settle all the pending bills owed to contractors and other service providers in our county governments, most of whom are struggling hustlers who have offered services, offered goods to county governments, but have gone some for up to 7 years without being paid, Honorable Speaker. And I want to ask especially the new governors, those who have taken office in the first term, to recognize and appreciate that they took over governments that existed before, and governments exist in perpetuity. And therefore, you should not look at pending bills that were incurred by your predecessors as bills that were owed by the person who was a governor before you. Those are bills that are owed to service providers by the respective county governments. Honorable Speaker, let me also use this opportunity to encourage our governors and to speak to those governors who are coming from counties that seem to be enticed to the subversive activities of demonstrations. Honorable Speaker, it is one thing to get revenue coming to your counties. It is one thing to speak to the media and ask investors to come and invest in your counties. When you are a tourist county, like Mombasa, for instance, or Kisumu City, and you are the governor there, you should be the last person to be seen to be entertaining anarchy, destruction of property, looting of people's businesses, while at the same time, you are asking people and investors to come and invest in your cities and towns. We must ask our governors, and I know some of them operate under very strenuous and difficult circumstances because of being lorded over by lords of poverty who want to instigate anarchy. But governors, please protect your counties from the anarchy and abuse by those who think that they can control you, and encourage investors to come and invest in those counties, so that governors can be able to not only focus on what is coming from the equitable share of revenue from the national government, but to focus on their own source of revenue. Many of our counties, Honorable Speaker, for instance, the city of Nairobi has no reason even to be depending or to be looking up to the central government or what is being raised nationally to even pay their salaries. But I see all these governors, Mr. Speaker, are always crying, we are waiting for money from the center. Devolution was not just about devolving power, but devolving resources, but also devolving the means of raising resources locally and nationally. The city of Nairobi, for instance, should be contributing, and even the county of Kiambu, that has the potential to generate adequate revenues, they should be contributing to the exchequer by giving part back of what they have raised locally from the exchequer. But we also must encourage them, Honorable Speaker, even as they think on how to raise revenues, they must be sensitive. I have seen the temptation by some governors to institute, through their finance bills, revenue-raising measures that are detrimental to the growth of the national economy and even their own economies, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, they must strike a very good balance in terms of the revenue-raising measures that they institute locally and how much they will do not to jeopardize their own work and that of the national government. And in those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I can see the Honorable Robert Mbui is getting itched and shifting in his seat when I speak about people being encouraged to entertain anarchy. But I want to tell my dear brothers and sisters, we all live in this country. And whether it is the bloodletting and the thirst for bloodshed that we have seen in some of these leaders, whether it is the looting that we saw yesterday in this city, in Kisumu, and how I pray, as we said earlier, Honorable Speaker, this morning, how I pray that our dear brothers and sisters from Nyanza will emancipate themselves from the slavery that they have been subjected to over the years. It is their businesses that are suffering. Yesterday, Nyeri was vibrant. Kiambu town, when the leader of minority visited there, and the Honorable Kaluma, they saw how vibrant Kiambu town was, even as much as were guests of the state. But at least the 50,000 bond they paid will also go a long way. And we want to encourage the police and support them in ensuring that nobody is above the law. Everybody must and should adhere to our laws. Nobody should encourage looting. Nobody should encourage counties to wait for money from the center while encouraging looting, destruction of property, and bloodshed in our country. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I do support.
Yes, what's the point of order, Dr. Nyikal?
Mr. Speaker, this may relate to order.